The golden catacombs are a subject of much controversy in the darker regions of Enervas, thought by most to be real but no one knowing to what extent, becoming enshrined in folk stories as few have risked the journey to find them. They are said to hide beneath a layer of already unfathomably dense and complicated tunnels as a measure of defense, having been dug centuries ago during a time of famine and strife when stealing from the dead was an all too common means of survival, preying primarily on the golden bones of Ornata to sell for scraps of food, leaving entire cemeteries destroyed and countless dead defiled. It's during this time that the reclusive noble house WritFinch began the tradition of raising Ornata to become gravekeepers, ensuring that they would never succumb to sin and greed in a cruel, unending ritual. A new scion is selected, trained, and sent down to guard the vast catacombs for most of their life, only ever emerging to chase down grave robbers, relying otherwise on provisions brought by couriers from the estate, with the only true exception being a term served with the Ordo Electi, as trusted alchemists are difficult to come by even for the rich and noble. Their lives are marked by a distance from others, as their occupation is kept secret from all but those of the estate, with even their faces being veiled the few times they make a public appearance. The current gravekeeper is named Lyra, however is informally referred to as the Watchdog, as her presence has taken on an almost paranormal turn among those who've come face to face with her. A prevalent rumor claiming she's a statue brought to life by the vengeful spirits of the many whose remains were disturbed over the long famine. Her golden mark encompasses the right side of her face, stretching from the chin to the forehead, yet is marred by an as of yet mild case of aureal malignancy, leading to scarring which almost mimics the cracks in the helmet. It causes her a great deal of discomfort and stress, which she mitigates with a small enchanted music box, a gift from the previous gravekeeper, who was her mentor. The power derived from the mark allows her gaze to strike crippling fear into those she looks upon, strengthening with proximity and working in tandem with an unsettling environment and various enchantments to put her foes at as great of a disadvantage as possible, allowing her to overpower groups of grave robbers as they either flee in fear or fight without enough calm to properly defend themselves from her onslaught. The enchantments include bells whose sound reverberates through the halls, allowing her to almost see in the dark, much like a nocturnal beast. The golden spine on her back helps ease the burden of such a heavy suit of armor, allowing her to move surprisingly fast, but also throw the armor's weight around in combat. And lastly, a sword that subtly vibrates to enhance cutting attacks, easily splitting gambeson and bone. Belonging to the Paragons, much emphasis has been placed on ornamentation, not only in gold and rare gems, but also in meaningful details. She carries a basket of wheat, and next to it a sword, as a representation that the times of famine have come to an end, and that those who do not seek other means of survival will be dealt with as needed. The helmet bears the visage of the first gravekeeper, in addition to her ribcage, which lies within the chestplate to honor the sacrifice the gravekeepers make to forever guard their kin. And lastly, the red cloth that drapes from the ribs represents flowing blood, symbolizing that Ornata are just like anyone else and do not deserve to be treated as a mere prize to be sold for bread and wine. As a part of her duties as the guardian of the catacombs, she takes some joy in maintaining the solemn beauty of the many halls, making sure everything is as presentable as can be, cleaning bones, polishing their burial gifts, and embalming those who are to be preserved. Being surrounded by so much death, she sees a lot of beauty in life, making a point of feeding the many rats and insects that find their way down into the depths of the catacombs. A bittersweet attempt to make up for those she's had to kill, as despite what she'd been taught time and time again ever since she was chosen to be a gravekeeper, she never stopped feeling guilt for each life taken in the name of the dead. But despite that, as her duty is all she's ever known, she buries those thoughts as well as she can and carries out her work with visceral brutality. She tends to hold a small funeral for everyone who meets their end in the catacombs, wrapping the bodies in cloth, adorning them with homemade trinkets, lighting candles, and praying that their spirits may cross through the door and enter the holy crossroads. This practice, however, despite coming from a place of compassion, has often been mistaken by outsiders as a barbaric warning, as a new graveyard slowly but surely creeps up outside of the catacombs entrance, giving credence to the grim folklore surrounding the place. She often thinks about what it would be like were she to leave behind such a solitary life, but is always pulled back by the care she has for those she guards, remembering every Ornata buried there by name. Only time will tell if one day she follows through with it, and runs away as far as she can to live her life experiencing the world the dead robbed her of, or perhaps instead she will join in those she spent her life tending to, having well earned her rest and the fear her title invokes amongst the wretched. So, that has been my part of the collab me and WritFinch cooked up, where we'd make a mage for each other's settings. This collab has been in the works for honestly far too long, as life stuff kept getting in the way for both of us, but I had a lot of fun working on it, and if you haven't already, you should go watch her video, where she works on a mage for Valibor. Considering how the Ornata are so heavily intertwined with bones, it felt very appropriate to introduce a gravekeeper, and from there it all just kinda fell into place. I wanted her to be an unnerving folk story perceived by the people as a ruthless, unfeeling statue who slaughters all who come near, whilst on the other hand being a bit more human than anyone knows despite her grim work. I wish I could have included a bit more character in this video, but honestly this is my first time writing about a character in forever, so I'm hoping I can improve in the future, as it gets kinda difficult. Since I'm here, I might as well throw in a concept for a character that didn't quite make the cut. He was a gladiator who had the power of overcharging his body's healing factor, having had his powers activated by a questionable alchemist hired by the arena he was held in, before being bought by the Ordo Electi to be used as a beast of war. I might still spruce up the concept and use it somewhere at some point, but I just didn't feel like I was taking advantage of the world enough in his creation. So that's where the Gravekeeper comes in, who is honestly just a love letter to the setting of Golden Bone. It's such a cool and interesting project that has helped inspire me so much while working on my own stuff, and I cannot wait to see where the project goes as it develops. Now get out of here. Go watch WritFinch's video. And if you already have, then watch it again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again.